The House Select Committee has now firsthand testimony about what then President Donald Trump was up to as his supporters turned insurrectionists stormed the Capitol on January 6th last year. Here's Republican Congresswoman Liz Cheney, who is the vice chair of the committee.
The committee has firsthand testimony that President Trump was sitting in the dining room next to the Oval Office watching on television as the Capitol was assaulted, as the violence occurred. We know that that is clearly a supreme dereliction of duty. One of the things that the committee is looking at from the perspective of our legislative purpose is whether we need enhanced penalties for that kind of dereliction of duty. But we've certainly never seen anything like that as a nation before. Imagine a man who, while the violent assault was underway, while he was watching television, watching it unfold, not telling his supporters to stop and go home, instead was sending out a tweet saying that Mike Pence was a coward. This is a man who is simply too dangerous ever to play a role again in our democracy.
All right, let's talk about what we heard there with CNN special correspondent Jamie Gangel. And Jamie, just underscoring there, Liz Cheney, who is the vice chair of that committee, saying first-hand knowledge. That is notable, and I know that you've learned more about that.
Right. There was no accident that she said firsthand. So here's what we've learned. In addition to what Congresswoman Cheney said, a person with knowledge of the investigation has told me that the January 6th committee has information, this is firsthand information from multiple sources that describe what President Trump was saying, doing, and not doing during the riot. The source told me, quote, "There's a collection of people with relevant information." So this isn't just from one source. So just let's translate it. Firsthand indicates someone with direct contact or knowledge. It could be someone who was in the room, someone on the phone, but this is firsthand. Bottom line, the committee has broken through Trump's wall.
Who might some of these people be, Jamie?
Right. So what do we know publicly? One witness who's given a deposition to the committee is Keith Kellogg. He's a retired general. He was former Vice President Mike Pence's national security advisor. But on January 6th, he was actually with Trump in the White House when the riot was going on. National Security Advisor Robert O'Brien was away, so Kellogg was with him all that day. Our colleague Alex Marquardt, reached out to Kellogg, who told us that he testified under oath to the committee, but he declined to comment about the substance of his deposition, but he was certainly someone who was in the room.
So Jamie, you said it was no accident that Liz Cheney used the words that she used.
Right.
I think she's very careful in her language. Why is she saying this now?
So my understanding is this is part of the committee's strategy to let Trump know that people who were in the room, possibly inner circle, certainly Keith Kellogg was in the room, are cooperating with the committee. This is a warning to Trump that while he may get people like Steve Bannon to delay or defy the committee is still getting critical firsthand evidence. And I think, John, it also sends a message to others in Trump world that key witnesses are cooperating, that they should cooperate too.
Yeah, maybe if they're on the fence and they're watching this. So what's the significance of what the committee is learning about what Trump was doing as the Capitol riot was unfolding?
So, look, we will know much more when the committee has its hearings, but right now let's think about the questions the committee may be getting answers to. We know Ivanka Trump, his daughter, came at least twice to try to get him to do something. What did he say to Ivanka? What did he say to others, like Mark Meadows, his chief of staff? What did he say to people who we know called him Jim Jordan, Congressman Jim Jordan, Kevin McCarthy? And also there's an interesting example. What did he say to Senator Tuberville? We know in the middle of the riot, he calls Senator Tuberville actually on Mike Lee's phone. He gets the phones confused. And he is trying to convince Tuberville to, he tells him, delay it even more. Tuberville says, look, they just took Mike Pence out. I've got to get off the phone. But all of this evidence speaks to, as you quoted Liz Cheney saying, was, quote, a supreme dereliction of duty for those 187 minutes. It's not that they don't want, let me be clear, for the documents from the National Archives, but the pieces of the puzzle are coming together.
One last question, Jamie.
Sure.
Politico noted that there are some Republicans close to Kevin McCarthy who think he made a tactical mistake by not putting other Republicans besides Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger onto the committee after Speaker Pelosi said, no, you couldn't have Jim Jordan and Jim Banks, who may be witnesses here, because the Republicans don't have visibility as to what's happening inside here. How much of an impact is that having?
I think it's having a huge impact. Look, Liz Cheney is a Republican. Adam Kinzinger is a Republican. The argument that there are Republican staff members on the committee. So there is bipartisan input. If Kevin McCarthy had had other Republican members on the committee, he would know what was going on. He does not know that now.
Jamie Gangel, it is